If you're 40 and if you can't lose belly fat, it's probably not because you're eating too much. Well, let me come back actually to this statement in a minute. It is because you're losing muscle. And nobody told you that muscle loss, not fat gain, is the real metabolic problem after 40. Most people are trying to shrink their bodies by spending endless hours doing exhausting cardio sessions and restricting calories to extreme levels when they should be rebuilding their bodies. So let me show you what's actually happening. Hi, my name is Zira. I'm a nutrition and fitness coach, and with my partner Terry, a neuropsychology and body image coach, we help men and women over 40 to escape diet prison, lose fat, build muscle, and finally rock that body that you love, that you've been wanting to build. I'm doing all this without extremes. No endless cardio, no restrictions, no crazy cutting out food groups and whatsoever. Just using a proven strategy. The 3-step fat loss reset pathway. So hit the like and subscribe buttons for weekly science-based fat loss and strength building content. So the metabolic truth. After age 35, 40, you begin losing muscle mass every decade. That process is called sarcopenia. Research shows that adults can lose about 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade after 30, and it accelerates after 40. This means you could be losing around 1% of your muscle mass yearly without noticing it. So if someone weighs 70 kg, 40% of that as muscle mass would be around 28 kilograms. So let's calculate with a 5% loss per decade. It equals to 1.4 kilo of muscle loss every 10 years. And it may not sound much, but it is. That's 3 to 5 pounds of muscle gone. And muscle is a metabolically active tissue. Muscle is not a cosmetic tissue. It's your primary site for glucose disposal, meaning that what it means is when you eat food, especially things like bread, rice, fruit, or sweets, or like carbs, your body turns that food into sugar, and that sugar goes into your blood, and your muscles act like big sponges, soaking up the sugar from your blood and using it for energy. Now, muscle is also a primary site for insulin sensitivity. So think of insulin as a key. It unlocks your muscle cells so sugar can go inside. When your muscles are strong and healthy, the door opens easily. When you don't have much muscle, the door gets sticky and hard to open. Muscle is also a primary site for metabolic rate. So even when you are resting, your body burns calories. And muscle is also a primary site for fat oxidation. When your muscles need energy, they can burn fat for fuel. It's like putting logs into a fireplace. But when muscle declines, insulin sensitivity drops, fat storage increases, resting metabolic rate declines, and recovery capacity falls. So when you diet aggressively, you often lose even more muscle, which makes the problem even worse. So why calorie cutting backfires after 40? I've talked a lot about why aggressive calorie cutting backfires after 40 so many times in my previous videos, but it's so important, guys. I really want that as many people to hear this, as many people as possible. In your 20s, entering an aggressive calorie deficit led to weight loss and your muscles rebounded easily. But after 40s, the story is totally different, because an aggressive calorie deficit leads to muscle loss, which in turn slows metabolism. Studies on dieting populations show that up to 25 to 30% of weight loss can be lean tissue if resistance training and protein intake are inadequate. So remember this equation: less muscle equals lower metabolic flexibility. Your body becomes worse at switching between carbs and fat for fuel. So that stubborn belly fat, it's often a symptom of poor muscle-mediated glucose control. Now, let me just talk about that statement that I begin this video with. If you're not losing belly fat, it's probably not because you're eating too much. So what did I mean by that? Most of the clients that come to us eat a lot lower calorie intake on a daily basis as their muscle mass requires. However, they eat a lot more of those foods that we consider empty calories. Why am I saying, what are empty calories? So these are highly processed foods, but they are empty because there are no nutritional value. Like getting a frozen pizza or those pre-made meals that you can get from the shelves. Biscuits, crisps, chocolates, all these things are super high fat content. They have high calorie values, but there are no nutritional values. So they are empty calories. So the issue is, are you eating enough of whole foods to really fuel your body? Probably not. The majority of the time, the people don't eat enough protein. And protein, it is the building blocks of the body. That's the macronutrient that is going to keep you full, that's going to help you with recovery, and so on and so on. So this is what I meant by you're not losing fat because you're eating too much. So now let's come back to muscle again, and I want to talk about the hormonal connection. Skeletal muscle is the largest organ system by mass. It accounts for about 35 to 45% of total body weight in healthy adults, and it is the only major metabolic organ we can directly control through behavior. When we talk about muscle, most people think about muscle in an aesthetic way, like muscle is for bodybuilders only. But I want you to think about muscle as your infrastructure, the living foundation that supports your metabolism, stabilizes blood sugar, protects your brain, preserves your independence, and determines how strong, capable, and resilient you remain as you age. So you can carry your groceries at 75, get up off the floor at 80, travel, hike, play with your grandkids, and do it without pain. Muscle also directly influences hormones. Higher muscle mass is associated with better insulin sensitivity, higher testosterone in men, better metabolic control during perimenopause in women, and lower chronic inflammation markers. When you lose muscle, cortisol impact increases, insulin resistance increases, fat storage signals increase. So you don't suddenly just have a slow metabolism or you have just like a broken body. You don't have any of that. You have less metabolically active tissue, and that's the full story. So the shift, instead of asking, how do I lose 20 pounds? Start asking this question: how do I add 5 pounds of muscle? Because muscle changes everything. Raises resting energy expenditure, improves nutrient partitioning, improves hormonal environment, protects against age-related decline, just as we talked about these topics. So when you build muscle after 40, fat loss becomes a side effect. Now let's look at what actually works. When I'm coaching someone over 40, here's the framework that I use. Number one is progressive resistance training, which means at least 3 days per week, compound lift, train close to muscular failure safely, of course, and because muscle requires stimulus. So just walking or your Pilates classes alone are not enough. They're a great addition, don't get me wrong, fantastic, but on their own, they are not enough. Number two, protein threshold. Research suggests older adults require more protein per meal to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So aim for at least 1 gram per pound of body weight daily. It's about 30 to 40 grams of high quality protein per meal, depending on how many meals you are consuming per day and on your personal goals, of course. But you need a stronger anabolic signal after 40. Number three, moderate, not aggressive deficit. Extreme dieting increases the risk of lean tissue loss. So if you are in a caloric deficit, it should be small, keeping your protein intake high and lift heavy. Your number one goal should be preserving muscle first, and of course then building muscle. You don't have to worry about building too much muscle or becoming bulky. You won't. It's actually very difficult to build a lot of muscle. Look at me. Do I look muscular or bulky? I don't think so. And I've been trying really hard, or training actually really hard for the past 2 years to build muscle. So don't worry, you're not gonna wake up with huge muscles looking like a Hulk overnight. Number 4, recover like it's your full-time job. Sleep is anabolic, meaning that all your hard work in the gym is now being converted into muscle repair, hormonal balance, and real physical progress rather than just stress on the body. Poor sleep reduces testosterone and increases cortisol. So if recovery is broken, muscle gain and also your fat loss are gonna stall. So let's reframe the belly fat problem. Belly fat after 40 is rarely about laziness. It's often to do with low muscle mass, poor glucose disposal, stress overload, chronic under recovery. So fix the muscle. The metabolism follows. And ladies, we have a free training on losing menopausal belly fat so you can rock your bikini over 40. Click the link below and watch it now. So again, your focus shouldn't be on weight loss, like, oh my God, I need to lose 20 pounds of fat, or 20 pounds, or I just need to lose 20 pounds before summer. Forget that mindset and think about building muscle. Train for muscle, eat for muscle, and recover for muscle. And fat loss will follow, I promise you. And if you want a structured muscle first transformation plan built specifically for 40 plus physiology, check the link below and book your free Vitality 360 consultation with us. And next, I want you to watch this video where I explain the 8-step framework on how to stop binge eating in your 40s.